LBC News.
From the situation we're in at the moment, I'm joined live by Paul Smith, who's an Iranian analyst and director of the Iran Sanctions and Trade Observatory think tank. Thank you for being with us this morning, Paul. We've seen a lot of change here, and the idea that some of the US demands that we've heard over the last weeks have been quite strongly watered down. Is there a sense that the US are maybe not getting what they want from this?
Morning, and thank you for your time. Yes, that's true. Trump wanted a deal that makes Iranian regime to step back, but in reality, this is the U.S. administration who are making concessions. For example, even to talk about releasing $12 billion for Iranian regime, which will be very dangerous for the region, because they're going to spend that money to rearm, regroup, and become stronger and become a more threat for the region. However, I would like to add another point. We talk a lot about the U.S. Objectives in this war, but the biggest misunderstanding in the West is thinking this is simply about nuclear negotiations. If we put our focus right now on Iranian people, the order Iranian, this is much bigger than just uranium and centrifuges. Millions of Iranians spent years protesting, risking prison, torture, death, facing a very brutal regime for a simple demand. They want regime change. They want a democratically elected government. They want a secular government that separates religion and the state and allows people basic freedoms. And this is what is missing in any sort of negotiations or the headlines. And that's very sad.
And we saw that the brutal crackdown on protests in Iran earlier this year before this conflict began. So does that mean, in the sense that if the US is and it looks like steering towards a more watered-down agreement, we end up with an end to this where there's no regime change, there's potentially no commitments to nuclear weapons. The people that are really going to lose out on this are the Iranian people who've suffered this conflict and are potentially, could we say, in a worse position than they were when it started.
Yes, as you said, we see this continued negotiation with the regime that murdered 45,000 Iranians on 9th and 10th of January. Millions of Iranians feel disappointed, betrayed, and abandoned, especially when Trump said the help is on way. And now you can see the help is on way for the Iranian regime for releasing funds and giving them concessions. So even looking at the U.S. objectives in this war, none of them have been met. For example, nuclear capability remains a concern. The enriched uranium is intact. Missiles capability of the Iranian regime is intact. Regional proxies network still intact. We have Hezbollah in Lebanon and still Hamas in Gaza, and now we are facing additional problems that were not there before the war, like the energy market remains vulnerable, and also now the government has the Strait of Hormuz card to use it as a leverage.
And so, given that the Iranian regime has demonstrated their power in that way, that they have the ability to do that. I mean, from what you see, to look at it from their perspective for a moment, what you see coming out of Tehran, is there any sense that their position might be softening, or are they just taking this as an opportunity?
No, you saw the head of the parliament, Mr. Ghalibaf's tweet a few hours ago, and he literally mentioned we enforce the U.S. to make concessions, not through negotiations and talk, by our missiles. And they mean that. They're not like just Trump who makes empty threats and tweets. They mean that they attacked UAE, they attacked Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, even Oman. The countries had nothing to do with this war, but they were affected economically, which means this regime is not going to set back just by negotiations and tweet. In fact, they are just buying time, and for them, buying time is winning because they're going to survive this attacks or negotiation, whatever is going on.
Well, Paul, fascinating to hear what you have heard from inside Iran and your take on what we've seen going on. Paul Smith, Iranian analyst and director of the Iran Sanctions and Trade Observatory, joining us live.
This is LBC News.
7:49 as